The story begins in a quiet southern town, where developers and the local homeowners association thought they had found the perfect spot to build their dream project. To them, it was just a stretch of open land, untouched for years, waiting to be turned into something profitable. The HOA rushed in with money, lawyers, and architects. Soon, plans were drawn, blueprints approved, and construction began. Heavy machines roared, dust filled the air, and one by one, brand new homes started rising from the ground. Families moved in, excited about their new community, never stopping to ask who the land really belonged to. For the HOA, it was just business. For the buyers, it was just a new home. But for one family in that town, the sight of bulldozers digging into the soil was like watching history being destroyed before their very eyes. That land wasn't abandoned. It wasn't forgotten. It was theirs. For over 100 years, a black family had owned it, cared for it, and protected it. Generations had lived and died on that soil. Children had played in its fields, and ancestors were buried beneath its trees. To outsiders, it may have looked like empty property, but to the family, it was sacred ground. The head of the family, an older man named Elijah, remembered the stories passed down from his grandfather. His grandfather had been a strong man who lived through times when black families were cheated out of their property, tricked by false contracts, or pushed out by threats and violence. But he was smarter than they expected. He worked with lawyers, wrote ironclad deeds, and registered documents that could not be erased. He told us, Elijah said to his children, never let this land go. Never sell it. Never let anyone convince you it isn't yours. One day, someone will try to take it. And when they do, we'll be ready. And that day had finally come. The HOA laughed when Elijah first approached them. He warned them politely, showing them the old deeds and records. But the developers smirked and dismissed him. Those papers don't mean anything anymore, one of the board members said. We've already built 100 homes here. We're not stopping now. But Elijah didn't back down. He knew his grandfather's trap was waiting, a century-old legal safeguard that made the family's claims stronger than anything the HOA could produce. The case was taken to court. The homeowners association came armed with expensive lawyers, glossy brochures, and arguments about progress and community development. They painted Elijah and his family as troublemakers trying to get rich off their project. But then came the moment that changed everything. Elijah's lawyer opened a weathered leather case, inside of which lay the original deed from over 100 years ago. Stamped, signed, and recorded in the county office. Alongside it were maps, tax receipts, and even a covenant filed by Elijah's grandfather, stating that the land must remain in family hands for generations to come. The courtroom grew silent. The judge leaned forward. The HOA lawyers shuffled nervously. Elijah's daughter, standing proudly, read aloud the words her great-grandfather had written. This land is bought with sacrifice. It will belong to my children, and my children's children, for as long as time allows. If ever someone tries to steal it, let this record stand as my voice in the future, protecting them. It was as though his spirit had reached across a century to speak in that very moment. The judge looked at the HOA and their lawyers and shook his head. The land belongs to the family. Everything built on it is theirs by law. The news spread like wildfire. The families who had bought houses were devastated, realizing they might lose everything they had paid for. Some blamed the HOA. Others wept, asking Elijah's family for mercy. The developers faced ruin, their million-dollar project crumbling in an instant. And the HOA, the same group that had mocked Elijah, sat in stunned silence. But for Elijah and his family, it wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. It was about honoring a promise made by a man who refused to let greed erase his family's future. One evening, as the sun set over the land, Elijah stood with his grandchildren, pointing out across the fields. This isn't just dirt and grass, he told them. It's history. It's sacrifice. It's proof that when you stand for what's right, no one can take from you what is truly yours. The children listened, wide-eyed, realizing they were part of something much bigger than themselves. A century-old battle had been won not with violence, but with patience, wisdom, and faith. The HOA had built 156 homes on a trap laid 100 years earlier. And in the end, it wasn't greed that won, it was legacy. Because sometimes, the strongest walls aren't made of bricks and concrete. They're made of memory, of resilience, and of a family's unshakable will to protect what's theirs.